Yes, guys, welcome to FPA. Welcome. What am I doing? What am I doing?
You've lost your head 1 week
I've
in.
Absolutely lost it. I'm trying to get my words out. Usually I start with welcome to Chasing Green Arrows. This is FPL Insight. But today I led with welcome to FPL Insight. And then I was like, oh, what am I going to say? We are Chasing Green Arrows. I'm Gianni. He's Dean. Dean, how are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Fulham have started the Premier League season without a defeat. And it will play against Liverpool. So, of course, I'm happy. Of course, I'm happy. What a performance from Fulham. It was a great day out and very, very surprising that we played as well as we did.
Yeah. I reckon performances or the big headlines from the weekend for me, or the standout games and things for FPL especially, it's Liverpool, Fulham, and it's City beating West Ham because like the emergence of Haaland as an FPL option. But also, let's start at Liverpool, Fulham, because I think that was huge for FPL. For some reason, like FPL experts haven't been tipping Mitrovic. Like we, of course, all said at some point we'll go there, but we looked at the fixtures and we went, Harry Wilson's out, let's swerve him. But what a beast mode performance that was. I mean, the way I haven't seen Van Dijk running scared like that for a long time, ever.
Yeah, well, I don't think people probably knew that Mitrovic does this now. Like, he's a totally different player from when you all saw him last in the Premier League. I mean, you barely saw him last time in the Premier League because Scott Parker and him fell out. But Mitrovic is a totally different player now. He has an all-round game. He gets at people too. Like, you saw him dribbling at Van Dijk. That's what he does now. And he wins pens. He gets free kicks outside the box. He links up play, does score goals. Look, I said at the start of the season, I think he'll get 12 to 15 goals, and I stand by that. But I haven't got him in my FPL team. Obviously, didn't expect him to score more than one against Liverpool. And ultimately, 6.5 million, and my team isn't going to cater for a 6.5 million forward anyway. Certainly not now, and maybe not at any point. I don't know. We'll have to see. I don't know exactly where else our goals will come from, if I'm honest. I mean, we are a good team, but also worth remembering, like, Harry Wilson wasn't playing, and Harry Wilson is one of our best footballers, to be honest. But before this season, he was our best player last season. But yeah, we've got a bit about us. I think, flip it though, Liverpool, big surprise. Like, Salah didn't play well. We locked him up. And he still scored, like, I had him captain, still got 24 points, I think. So he got away with it in FPL terms. And you look at it and you're like, oh, glad I captained Salah or whatever. He wasn't great. But that's the thing with Salah. He wasn't great. And he still got a goal and an assist.
Yeah.
Same for Darwin Nunez. Like, he causes chaos. I'll give him that. He causes chaos. Not sure it's all intentional. Not sure his assist was intentional. But
bad touch.
Yeah, it was. But he'll get some points. But Liverpool, just generally, I think, are going to be an interesting story in terms of how they bounce back from this.
Guys, we've got so much coming up in today's episode. I'm delighted to say we're taking some of the features from pre-season, like Transfernomics, and squeezing them into our review as well. But CH, cracking post from you, and CH, you're one of our boys on this channel. We love the fact that you're always telling everyone to like and subscribe. So we like you for that. But you've had a worldy week as well. Game week 1 for me was almost embarrassingly good. The highest all season, 87, second in the Chasing Green Arrows mini league. Eradicate the tout. Now look, we're going to be updating on our mini league, and we'll see who beat you in that mini league and look at their team. But CH, that is some weekend. Congratulations to you.
That is a big sum. Yeah, very good.
We've also got coming up in today's stream the eye test we're going to get to. I've been doing some eye test scouting, and look, of course, we'll be looking at our teams. We're going to have FPL Visa. That's always loads of fun. And then, of course, answering your questions as we do throughout the show. So get your questions in, like and subscribe. We're going to have to talk a little bit in this intro about Haaland. He was phenomenal, Dean. Like, the acceleration to win the penalty. I knew he was quick, and I knew he was amazing on the counter. I've never appreciated Haaland's acceleration in the first 5-10 meters. For someone that's 6'5", so quick. And we saw not many players win that penalty because they don't get their foot there before the keeper. And Areola makes a good decision to come out because you think he's going to get the ball. And then even that second goal, we saw the run in the Community Shield. Moyes said after the game, we saw the run. We knew it was going to come at some point. As soon as we're a little bit higher, it will come. And it did. Even knowing it was coming, there's not much you can do about it. Like, his timing is so good as well. No offside flag.
Absolutely, yeah. And look, he thrives in games like that. There was space in behind. Like I've seen him enough times at Dortmund to see him in play like that. Always scores on the first day of the season too. Loves to get off to a good start, like we were talking about the other day. But what will be interesting, like, look, his next game is Bournemouth at home. So you're expecting him to score a hatful, right? Well, Bournemouth are just going to sit on the edge of their box. They are just going to defend for their lives. Haaland probably won't have that same space that he had against West Ham, because West Ham will have defended mostly anyway in a different way, and they had to come out and try to play. Now, anytime you come out and try to play now against Man City, you're taking a bigger risk than ever, because you've seen that pass now, KDB to Haaland. That's going to be on every single time because they're both so good. And it's going to be such a... you just have to nail tactics so precisely in order to pull off, any sort of high pressing, whatever it is going to be, a high line, because they'll just pick you apart. Yeah. They can play in tight spaces, and Haaland now can get in behind. And it's that number 9 threat that they didn't have before that has killed off West Ham ultimately. I mean, his finish was absolutely insane, wasn't it?
There's always been a spread of points at City. What player do you go for? Do you go for one of those midfielders or wide forwards on the fringes? Well, now we have our guy. Like, we just don't want him. If you don't own him, I don't like using the term must have, but make every effort to get there. He's had a price rise last night. He's now at 11.6. Kane has dropped in value to 11.4. You try and make that happen, in my opinion, if you can.
Yeah, exactly that.
What's Haley saying? Do I swap Mount to Foden or Saka or just keep it? Mount had an off game, and I've seen a lot in the chat saying they're disappointed with Mason Mount. He came off way earlier than Tuchel usually substitutes him off. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a little knock there that we don't know about, and maybe if he was carrying one. He was off. Chelsea attack was off. Chelsea, to me, looked like a team where we might want to invest in the back line, but not necessarily the front line till there's a little bit more chemistry there. They look like they could be 1-0 specialists, and Reece James and Mendy, both good options that I've certainly overlooked. So yeah, I think maybe you do sell Mount, and I think Foden might be nailed on that right hand side, and if he isn't, he'll play on the left. So Foden for Bournemouth, especially if you can't get Haaland, I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. Yeah.
Dean, we're going to see. I can't wait to see your team later and mine. We'll look at what Man City assets we might be squeezing in. But first, we're going to have to continue this from pre-season because it was so popular. We have a dedicated 10 minutes just talking transfers. So let's have a look at some assets that might be coming into this game in the not too distant in Transfernomics.
Yeah, we'll do this little segment till deadline day. The first rumour, Sané to Liverpool. Now, obviously, it's a bit out there, but it is out there. The rumour is there, and I think it's worth talking about. Obviously, we give these a rating, and I've gone lemon and herb in terms of a source level. Mainly because I don't see it happening. I don't think he'll leave Bayern Munich. But I think it's an interesting topic to discuss because watching Liverpool on that first day, they miss Mane, and they're going to miss Mane a lot. Yeah. Like, yes, they've got Luis Diaz, and he can definitely fill that role to some extent, and Salah on the other side, that's fine. Darwin Nunez is going to be more of a Firmino replacement. Jota, for me, is more of a central player. I don't know. I just prefer him in that sense.
Agreed.
So out wide, I know they've got Carvalho. I just wonder if they'll be tempted to genuinely go for an elite forward, because they can't get caught out here. Like, if they're short, and they can't win the title. Like, by the time January comes around, it's going to be too late. If you let Man City go, you won't catch them. So I think that if the next couple of weeks Liverpool don't see massive improvement, then I can see them, I don't want to say panic buy, because Liverpool don't really panic buy, but turn to one of the options that they will have on their radar for alternate options for attackers. They've been linked with midfielders too, and I'll be honest, like the midfield that they fielded against Fulham was a massive favour to us because they had nothing in terms of going forward. They offered nothing, and they just sat there. Thiago, Fabinho, Henderson, brilliant. It was great for Fulham.
They don't break the lines, do they? Those three,
they don't do it. Yeah, they were just flat, and Fulham just had players all over them constantly, and we were able to get joy out of it. You can't really allow that to happen against a team that's just been promoted for the Championship. We'll have to wait and see if it's a one-off. I see Bernardo there saying we need a midfielder, and I think that that's true. I see him being linked with Mateus Nunez at Sporting. I think Man United looking at him too. See whether that comes to anything. I mean, he'd be a very good player for either of those teams. So that's interesting. But yeah, I think Sané to Liverpool, as I say, I don't specifically see them pulling that one off. I think it would be good if they could, but I do see that they might be tempted to get a player of that kind in, because Mane is going to be a massive loss.
Yeah. Good stuff. Guys in the chat, let us know what you think. Would you love him back in your team? Like, we know he's a very good FPL option, Sane. He can be really dynamic on his day. So keep us posted in the chat on that one. And guys, thank you so much for watching. Loads of you tuning in. Hit that like button if you like what you're seeing. And if you're new around here, we do these streams every Monday and Friday at 7. And look, Dean gives us these transfers from a very, very good place. Dean's got really good relationships with a lot of clubs, a journo in his own right. So I love these segments, and a few have come to fruition already this summer.
Yeah, so Sesko to Man United is just a rumour that just has not gone away. I've gone medium on it because I think the Man United are going to go for a forward. But it's not going to be this guy. I mean, it would have been a massive punt anyway. 19 years old, valued at £55 million. Like, that's just so not Man United. I mean, they only buy strikers in their 30s now anyway. Like, the last time
Cavani
they didn't
and
was,
Zlatan.
yeah, exactly. The last time they didn't, I think, was Lukaku in like 2017 or 18 or something like that. So it's a long time since they went to the market for a young forward. I mean, look at him. This guy looks about 12, not 19. Like, he looks extremely young, doesn't he, in this picture? But he has actually got a deal in place to go to RB Leipzig next year now. So it was always likely to be the case. Whenever I was speaking to people about him, being like, yeah, United, they've talked about it, they've inquired. There's a massive difference in valuation right now, and the thing that's going to affect it too is that Leipzig want him. So, like, usually a player like him at that age will take that step up the ladder instead, and then a year or two after that will look for his big move, and then the Red Bull model gets what they're looking for. So I think that's where we're at. But look, United need something in that attack. They can't go through this transfer window without signing a striker now. They just can't. Like, you've seen the effect of just losing Martial. Martial's a player they didn't even plan on having this season. They were going to let him go. They sent him out to Sevilla on loan last season.
Who also didn't want him.
Like, and now he's not there. And suddenly you've got a crisis mode and you're playing Christian Eriksen up front. Absolute disaster.
What must Rashford think? All Rashford has ever wanted to be is the leading number 9, and then he has to go see Eriksen get the nod in front of him.
Yeah, strange one. I mean, Ten Hag says that he felt that Rashford's been so good off the left in pre-season that he's getting good opportunities there. But ultimately, you play Rashford centre forward and you play Jadon Sancho on the left and you put Eriksen out on the right. Yeah, it just makes so much more sense.
Or Elanga or Garnacho.
Whatever, Elanga, yeah, exactly. Why are you like messing around with unproven ancient striking options? Just put them on the table for Aussie men or Lautaro Martinez.
I don't know if they want it. They're 2 elite forwards.
Yeah, I mean, they're quite different, these two. I mean, Aussie men is like 85 million and Napoli just not been willing to sell him at this point. Lautaro Martinez, yeah, I mean, he's gettable, I guess. He's gettable. What to do with Rashford? Game week 3, yeah.
I reckon you'd probably sell him. He's got Liverpool in game week 3. Like, I don't think Rashford's going to be in the 11 for long. If they buy a front player, he'll be the first to drop. I'd honestly be, if you don't own Martinelli at 6.0, downgrade and save the money, Dua.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, get off the Man United boat for now. There's not much to be had there. I know Brentford's next. Like, toss a coin. They might get back on track with that one. They might equally lose that game 3-0. It's impossible to predict how that game will go. At the moment, you've got to predict it could easily be a disaster. But let's move on to the last one. Fofana to Chelsea. This one gathering pace all the time. I haven't checked in the last 2 hours, so this could be done for all I know, the pace it's going at. But Chelsea really been moving forward. I mean, I can't believe they're going to pay this sort of money for him. I really can't. But yeah, I'm going with hot on this rating.
How much are we talking, Dean?
It's going to be 75 to 80 million pound. It's insane. It's absolutely insane that they're going to do this on the back of spending 60 million on Cucurella as well.
It's still the youngsters we've let go for free as well, or for very little as well. Like, we've been completely mugged off with Zamori and Mark Gay and Cole now as well.
Yeah, so You're paying 80. They're going to pay real life £80 million for a guy in FPL that's 4.5 million. So that sums it up.
It's got to be some
Look,
ratio. That I don't know if there's many players on that sort of ratio.
that might be the biggest gap, between real life value and FPL value. But look, in real life, he's obviously a great player.
Yeah.
If you're spending £80 million on him, you've got to be putting a fair bet on him that you're expecting him to become one of the best defenders in the world. You've also got to expect that you're going to have to pay what Leicester want, because Leicester always hold out, as we've seen, particularly with Harry Maguire, they did get this money for.
Yeah.
So they'll be saying, look, we got 80 million for Harry Maguire. This guy's the same. And Leicester, how'd Leicester keep doing this? They just stick to their model. They just stick to their guns, and they do not let anybody out unless their valuation is reached. And it's not done too bad. Then hopefully they'll have time to reinvest the cash. I mean, that's their biggest worry at this point, replacing him in that back line. It's not going to be easy. But for Chelsea, another good addition. I think by the time we get to the end of this transfer window, any concerns of them not making the top four will be well and truly forgotten. I saw too many journalists and pundits predicting ahead of this season that Chelsea won't be in the top four.
It's really annoying seeing that all weekend.
It's just such short-termism.
I've seen United in top four over Chelsea by credible pundos. Like, what are you doing?
It just, sometimes you've got to take a step back and be, okay, look at their team. What did they do last season? What have they added? They've added Koulibaly and Raheem Sterling and Cucurella, and now they're going to get Fofana. And they've got Thomas Tuchel as their manager. They were already third in the league.
Yeah.
They're going to be third or fourth.
Yeah.
I don't think they've done enough so far to push themselves into first or second, but they might still do that. If they sign the right forward, they might be able to get into that conversation or get Frankie de Jong. Maybe they're doing all they can to get in that conversation. So,
Agreed.
Yeah, I think that'll look a bit silly in hindsight.
Well, Zaha, every summer we talk about where could he end up, and every summer he seems to stay at Palace. He's had an amazing pre-season with Zaha, 7 million in FPL, guys. And as soon as Palace start having good fixtures, genuinely, if he stays, he'll become a very good FPL option. Do you reckon we could see Zaha to Chelsea?
I think Chelsea and Arsenal are both fair bets to have a go at getting Zaha. Both clubs are looking for someone of his style.
Direct, and he's
direct. He gets at people.
Better.
Yeah, he is. He has got better. I think he might have realised that this is it now. This is the peak moment for him. It's now or never. And so you can't really stay at Crystal Palace if that big club does now come for you. He'll win you penalties. He'll score you goals. He'll get assists. I could see him being a good fit for Chelsea, to be honest. If you've got Sterling and Zaha in that attack, I think it'd be a really nice combination.
30 this year. It's time for that move. Has to come now.
It has to. It really has to, because he's got 2 big years ahead of him. I see someone asking about Aubameyang to Chelsea. It's one they've looked into. I don't think it will happen. Barcelona want 2 players in every position that can offer similar things, and they see Lewandowski as obviously the main goal threat. But if ever there's a time when he's out, it's Aubameyang that's going to step forward with the big goals. They see him as their big goal scorer. They might necessarily not play in exactly the same way that Lewandowski plays, not necessarily even in the same position a lot of the time that Lewandowski plays. But when he is out there, whether centrally or off the flank, they're expecting Aubameyang to score goals. So it would take a big offer to get Aubameyang right now. But Chelsea have inquired about that one. And there's a couple of others working on in the background as well right now. So it's an interesting one, and obviously Chelsea trying to offload Hudson-Odoi at the moment. There's a lot of teams looking at Hudson-Odoi, and the clubs, as I say, Crystal Palace, if they were to lose Zaha, for example, Hudson-Odoi in the other direction might be one to go for.
Yeah, that could be. We know what they're doing with young English attacking talent at Palace. Hudson-Odoi could fit in really nicely. And by the way, if he does move Hudson-Odoi this window, in terms of FPL, he will be an option if he's playing at a mid-level club and he's starting week in, week out. He's listed as a 5.5 midfielder. Keep him on your watch list. Speaking of watch lists, we did this last season. It was loads of fun. We've got a little section here, which is we take away the stats on this channel, and this is mainly about players, what we've seen and what we like. So this is introducing next is my eye test. Loads of you watching. Thank you for joining us. We're with you till 8 o'clock, so stay with us. We'll be answering your questions. We'll be showing our teams. Do join our mini league as well. We'll give you the information for that mini league, and it runs along the bottom of the screen. But first, let's have a look at some of these eye test reports. And hello in the chat to see CFC Blues, Ray, FPL River, Edward, Bernardo. Loads of you really active tonight in the chat. Good to see, Mark. We've been reading all your comments, even the ones that don't make it onto screen. Dean and I are always glancing at. So thank you for your comments. And give us a like. There's 139 of you watching. Yeah, only 38 of you seem to like what you're seeing. Come on, gang. Let's get that up. So look, the eye test report, of course, I can speak about Haaland and we can speak about Salah, but I like to try and pick out a few players that perhaps aren't being spoken about lots, but really impressed me over the weekend. And often this relates to the club. So first up, we're looking at Leeds. A lot wrote Leeds off because we saw under Marsh at the end of last season them struggle. But now he's bought his own players. Now they don't have that fear of relegation over their heads. Now Bamford is fit. I think this Leeds team, even without Rafinha, Aaronson's come in and done really well in the similar sort of role. I think Leeds are going to be all right this season. I think they could even finish around mid-table. One, they've got a very good manager. And two, in Bamford, they've got someone that will score goals. And seeing him fit made me smile because last year, he just wasn't. Every time he tried coming back to fitness, he was injured again. He wasn't an FPL option. And he's priced high at 7.5. But if he starts scoring, this is a guy that will be on penalties. He's absolutely the main man. And he can fire. We know he can do it from the year before. And what we saw at the weekend was him make some really intelligent runs. He's linking up really well with some of those new midfielders. Harrison looks very good in terms of a creator for him. And yeah, he got an assist, but it could have been way more. He missed a couple of big chances as well. So Bamford is one to definitely monitor. Is he someone you've liked, Dean? You watch a lot of the Championship, so you'd have seen him for a long time at a lot of clubs. Became a bit of a journeyman in the Championship. Seeing Burnley and Borough and clubs like that.
He's such a good player. Yeah, it's just the injuries, isn't it, that have hampered him. And he's always had a high ceiling, even since he was very young, like 14, 15. You were hearing about Patrick Bamford and expecting big things of him. And if he can stay fit all season, you're right, Leeds will be absolutely fine. And Brendan Aaronson was just insane. Like, from an FPL point of view, absolutely gutted he didn't get the goal. He scored that goal. He scored that goal. That is so
well, Darwin
hard.
Got his goal.
Yeah,
that could have been no goal.
Yeah, I just don't think it's fair sometimes that they put things like that down as an own goal, because nobody wants it to be an own goal. Own goals should only be when it's like clearly, obviously an own goal, because otherwise it's not fair on the guy that scored the own goal. It's not fair on anybody else. Like the guy that's Aaronson, for example, was genuinely like not having any of it. When he was told that they were taking the goal away from him, he's like, no, that's my goal. I felt it touch my shin. That I'm claiming that. Like, no one's telling me otherwise. That's my goal. And I'm like, hang on, how come he can claim it, but I can't claim it in FPL? So I've written a letter. No, I haven't. But I am annoyed because I was really excited because it came up on everywhere. Like Aaronson had scored, and I was like, yes, it's paid off. I knew it would. And then it was taken away. So I was like, okay, never mind. It's got me 2 points, but I'm not getting rid of him. No chance, because he's a pressing machine and he will score more like that. So, yeah, at the price I've got him at 5.5, very happy with Brendan Aaronson. And yeah, Leeds look really good.
Yeah, Craig's not a fan, though. I like what I saw, but yeah, each to their own, Craig. Bamford, by the way, in FPL, captained himself, and he has Bielsa in his team. Meslier in his team in goal. And he also has Christensen, the 5.0 fullback, who is very attacking. Good. So he's gone triple Leeds. But look, the fixtures are good. They've got Southampton up next. Game week 3, it's Chelsea, but then it's Brighton, Everton, Brentford. Like
exactly why I got him as well, because they've got such a good run. Like one of my best mates goes home and away with Leeds, and he said it. He was like, we were just chatting in the pub, and he was like, have you seen our start to the season? And I hadn't really paid that much attention to it because it was Leeds. And I was like, not really, no. He goes, and he read it out. It was like, mate, we're not the same team as last season. That is, we can get off to a really strong start there. Like, we are a completely different team. So that's another reason I got Aaronson in. But yeah, interesting. I should have got Bamford, but never mind. Imagine got Bamford and Mitrovic. Like, that'd be not a bad strike force to have for the season, to be honest.
Yeah, they would tick along nicely. Let's move on to another player I want to discuss, and that's a guy that, if you follow me on Twitter, you'll see I was very vocal about him the week leading up to the deadline, and I very nearly had him in my team. We were presented with the Leicester goalkeepers at 4 and 4, and I thought, oh, I can bump Darwin up to Haaland. Now, look, it turns out that wasn't a good move, but I had compromises elsewhere. But Darwin Nunez is someone I just really want to focus on here. And that's not just to say monitor him as an FPL option, but just to discuss with Dean for a minute how this might change the way Liverpool play and how that could affect FPL. I'm convinced Darwin in the team is the big chance hogger in that team. And with that, I think we're going to see a dip in Mo Salah in terms of FPL output. Because when Darwin plays, he occupies that number 9 role. He's always between the goal, right? He's always closest to the goal as well. When you look at the heat maps, the touch maps, and Jota plays in that role, or Bobby Firmino especially plays in that role, they're always deep, and the wide forward's always more advanced than them. Well, when Darwin plays that role, I looked at the heat maps yesterday, the difference between Bobby and Darwin against Fulham. When Darwin plays the role, Salah's off him. Salah's wide as well, very wide. So I just wonder if, as the season goes on and Darwin continues to score goals and get a lot of big chances, that Salah's always going to be a great option because he's a world-class player and he's on pens and all that. But I think we could see a little bit of a Salah dip if we see a Darwin leap. And he's one I'm monitoring, and I'm looking at it going, the fixtures are so good. He's going to start against Palace now, surely.
Yeah.
And he just draws all those efforts. What's your take, Dean? You're not the biggest fan in terms of football, but in terms of FPL.
Yeah, in terms of FPL, he is interested, and it was it was good to see him up close on the first day of the season to see what he's all about. I think.
Is he clumsy?
Yeah, he's quite clumsy. Yeah, but then at the same time, he can pull stuff off, like those backflicks he keeps trying to do. I was just check with is that the only way he tries to score goals these days. But the only other thing I'd say though about Darwin is that he does just cause so much chaos that it kind of opens up that Mo Salah might be left in some space at times, like that goal that he scored. It just inadvertently ends up at Salah's feet and he's got an easy tap in. Salah also gets the assist because he's finally got someone in his attack that he was actually up there with him. And when Firmino was playing, Firmino offered nothing really. Like from a Fulham point of view, I was a bit gutted when Firmino went off because we were having a good time. And while I'd been joking coming into the game that I was hoping Nunez started, obviously I knew that he would be an upgrade because he'd be trying to prove a point, and we'd seen how hungry he was in the Community Shield. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that combination. It's definitely completely different to anything else we've seen Mo Salah play with at Liverpool. There's no doubt about that. I still think Salah will have high output, no matter what. But it is a different dynamic. There's no doubt about it. It'll be interesting to see if Nunez does start at the weekend, how Salah plays off him for sure.
If there are managers out there that go with Salah and Darwin, you might be in the predicament where you go, I might not captain Salah, I might captain Darwin over him. So just watch this space here. I've got the third Liverpool asset available and free. Didn't go Robbo or Diaz. And by the way, final point on Darwin, he had the highest non-penalty XG of any player over the entire weekend, and he played 40 minutes. This guy just gets all the big chances. Let's move on to my third and final eye test report. And guys, we're going to be showing our teams in the next 5 minutes. Stay with us before the end of the show. We're also going to be answering your questions, which is really fun. And we've got FPL Visa. If you haven't heard of that, one to stay tuned for. So third and final, Reece James and Cancelo. Now, I'm going to talk about these guys in the same bracket and how they are bonus point hogs. Sure, they both got clean sheets and we know they're going to be reliable for clean sheets. But these guys, the bonus point system in FPL, it's valuable. You clock up those 2s and 3s throughout the season and you finish the year on an extra 30, 40 points. So I look at Reece James and Cancelo. Both got a yellow card. Both didn't score or get an assist, but they still came away with 2 bonus points each. They both got 7 points. Now, when you get a yellow card, you lose BPS as well. That's one of the 32 metrics. If they weren't yellow carded, chance these guys get 3 bonus points. In a game, they don't even score or get an assist. Just wait till they do score or get assists. It's 3 bonus nailed on for these guys because they're so good at all the other metrics. The pass completion, the key passes, the dribbles, the successful tackles. Everything they do in terms of stats is bang on. They are, in a way, their team's main men coming out the back with the ball as well. So Reece James and Cancelo, so much more valuable than other defenders at that same price point or in that team. A lot going a Diaz or a Walker to try and cover Cancelo, or perhaps at Chelsea looking at the centre-backs. Don't do it. Pay the extra because you really do get the extra.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. In fact, I was looking through, there was one game in particular, I can't remember who it was, but in terms of bonus points, defenders and mids who just, go about a normal game seem to be cropping up in more bonus points this game week than I'd normally seen. There would be some games where somebody had scored, so I'd be like, oh, I'll just check, make sure they got a bonus point. And they hadn't, because there would be like a fullback or a centre mid even that had got in there ahead of them. Is that because there's been a metric? Has there been a change to the system? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's a good point. So the only change, Dean, is you are a way more engaged FPL manager this season.
I definitely am. Yeah, I never would have noticed that.
So forward in bonus points terms, when they score a goal, they get 24 in the BPS. If a forward scores, pretty much going to get 3 bonus points, right? If a midfielder scores, their bonus points don't get the same. I think it's 24 or 22 for forward. It gets something like 18 or 16. And if a defender scores, they get like 10 or 12. So you're not rewarded in the same way, because it's a forward's job to score goals. It's not a midfielder's or a defender's job. So they're rewarded in other metrics, just like forwards are penalised for offsides and shots off target. So yeah, it's an interesting one. If your forwards score, they usually get the bonus.
Right. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, and unless you've got a Reece James or a Cancelo on the pitch that can just take it off you regardless.
Yeah, fair.
Cool. Yeah. There we go, guys. Bonus points. We look forward to keeping you posted throughout the season on that, because if you're interested in bonus points, put it in the chat, because we could do maybe next week in Monday's show or possibly next Friday, we could do 10 minutes on the bonus point system. So if it's something you would like to hear more about, because it is complex, there are 32 metrics. Let's see what players are awarded and why. Then put it in the chat or the comments to this video if you want to hear more, and we'll do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a way you can get an edge, isn't it, over people, for sure. Like if you're picking up guys that are going to get unexpected to the wider audience, unexpected bonus points every week, then it's probably a discussion worth having on here. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I love that. Guys, good to see it. This is so busy. If you've never watched us before, Dean and I talk FPL every Monday and Friday, and we want you on this journey with us. We always stream at 7, so come and play, get in the chat, give us a subscribe if you haven't already, and obviously hit that like button if you will. But look, we've been teasing our teams. It's been very competitive between Dean and I. I've been giving it the big one as the FPL expert, but actually Dean's been doing a lot of research this season. His team for game week 1 looked fire to me, and he may have pulled it off the big W. So let's check that out as we review our teams. Oh, we have to start with Rail.
I was going to say, I wish that was my team, mate. I wish that was my team.
We have to start with this, don't we? 90 points. This guy is the top of our mini league. It's Charlie ZQR. And the mini league code we'll put on the bottom of the screen for you guys. So look, it's not too late to join our mini league. You can, put yourself against me and Dean and see how you fare. But this is some team, Dean. Like every player, give or take. He had a couple of misses, but pretty much performed.
The fact is, misses are Trent and Jesus is like, that's not going to happen very often, is it? So like, that's not a bad week for those two to let you down, because everybody else pretty much made it up. Bailey, I mean, I said I didn't actually pick him in the end because I think he's a flaky footballer, and I couldn't count on him. Like I don't know if we can trust that guy at all. But that is unbelievable week. I tell you what,
on the bench as well. 7 on the bench.
Yeah, that's unbelievable, to be honest. Zinchenko's a nice pick. It is one that I had considered myself, and it's probably the only one that I was kind of kicking myself over after the weekend. I mean, the obvious one, I did go with Kane over Haaland, as we'll see in a minute, but there was more Zinchenko I genuinely thought about on my own, because we didn't talk about him that much on here. And I was like, kind of how I picked Aaronson. I was like, I just got a hunch Zinchenko could be good, and didn't go for it. And he got 12 points. So that's a shame. But 90 points to get your season underway. Well played, Charlie. That is a top team.
Yeah, I like it a lot. The funny thing is, if I'd seen that team pre-season and someone said, rate this team, I'd probably look at that and go, it's pretty perfect. Like pretty good. Like, why didn't I build that team? It's bang on. I mean, the only thing I'd say about that team pre-season is you've got a substitute benching. You've got a benching nightmare every week, because you're going to have to always bench a Trippier or even a Bailey for good fixtures. Yeah. And I might question money on the bench, but no, I like it a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, should we move on to see our teams?
Yeah, not 90 points, but let's go. There I am.
Oh, I like the name Walton Rifles as well.
Yeah, been Walton Rifles for
Always Rifles.
ever since I moved from Islington, which point it was Islington Rifles.
Yeah.
But we here we are. Yeah, Kane obviously let me down. So that was frustrating. 62 points, totally fine for game week 1. No. I mean, it's pretty mad that Kane and Jesus get 4 points between them. I mean, how has that happened? Tottenham have won 4-1. Arsenal have won 2-0. They both come into the season in great shape and great form. Got nothing to show for it in FPL. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, I am a bit annoyed because, in my mini league, there's some of them that really don't take it that seriously, and they just like pick Haaland and Mitrovic and off they go. And it's like, that's so annoying. But it's only game week 1. That won't last. So, yeah, happy, mate. Grealish, I've got to weigh up that Jack Grealish pick. I really have. Didn't do a lot. I'll keep him in probably this week just because it's Bournemouth. I guess, the big decision. I have kept 0.5 in the bank. So I did see, the first time in my entire life playing FPL, have kept 0.5 in the bank because we've talked on here about the fact that it might not be possible to switch Kane to Haaland. So I was like, I probably will want to do that. I'll keep it back just in case. And here we are. Like, there's now 0.2 difference between them.
Yeah.
I mean, I know no one's really going to expect Kane to score against Chelsea, and I don't think he has done, has he, in the last few?
I don't remember him scoring. But he always beat Spurs.
I think it's been a while since Kane scored against Chelsea, like 4 or 5 games since he's actually scored. I mean, I'm sure someone in the chat will correct me if that's wrong, but I'm sure Kane hasn't got a great record against Chelsea. Like, I usually trust him to score in big games, so I wouldn't usually instinctively swap Kane out just because it's a hard fixture, because it doesn't really matter. It's Harry Kane. He scores in big games. That one, I think I'm going to have to get Haaland. I think I'm going to have to. I think it could cost me a lot. It could cost me a lot. I can get Kane in for Haaland. I can swap Kane and Haaland.
No, because there was a price rise last night.
Yeah, but I've got the 0.5, haven't I?
Oh, sorry, you have got the 0.5.
I have got the 0.5.
That was a smart play, mate. That was a very smart play.
Yeah, so that's literally like, that's there. And I'm like, I think I'm going to have it just because everyone's now going to switch to Haaland, aren't they? Everyone's going to, because it's Bournemouth. And he probably score.
I like the fact you've given yourself time, though, because a lot went last night, and there might be a few. There might be some press conference news that comes out where there's an injury to another player. There might, you might hear something and see something and go.
I mean, I nearly did it during the game, if I'm honest. I nearly did it during the City game, but then I was like, if Haaland goes off injured in a minute, I'm going to be kicking myself because I don't do things like that. So just leave it. Tiffany says Kane's only got 4 goals and 2 assists in 14 games against Chelsea.
Wow.
Tiffany, love that stat, by the way. Like, thanks.
Tiffany is on it, and she had a good week as well.
Like, thanks for standing up my point so fast and accurately. But yeah, so because of that, like, as I say, like, if it was Kane playing against pretty much and even Man City, I'd probably stick with Harry Kane. I'd be like, fine, I trust you in a shootout with Haaland in a fixture like this. Let's go. Against Chelsea, it doesn't seem to work out for Harry Kane very well. So I think that'll probably be my transfer, and I'll go triple City.
Stay tuned on Friday to see Dean's transfer. Guys in the chat, let us know. Did Dean beat me this week? Yes or no? Very simple. Yes or no? 62 points for Dean.
Come on.
Vindy reckons they kept the best till last. I mean, we started with the best team of the week. No, 61.
Mate, I've got to make the most of moments like this. Game week 1.
Oh, I can't. We should have a tally, shouldn't we? Week on week.
No, we shouldn't. We should just leave it here. We should just leave it here.
We had the same goalkeeper. We had a lot of the same forwards, but you had defenders like Trippier and Reece come in for you, and those 7-pointers can't be underestimated when you're comparing them to 1 point.
You told me to go big at the back, so I did. you actually helped me to this.
And there I am starting 4.0 Nico Williams at the back, who got yellow carded. Actually looked quite good going forward, though. I was
He's a good player,
encouraged with what I saw. He could have had an assist.
He
had a shot. Yeah, true say. I think they'll be good at home, Forest. Like a lot of newly promoted teams, it'll be one to play for some of the home games. Head-to-head results, punishment for the lose at the end. Yes, Craig.
I mean, give me some slack. I need some leeway there. If I only lose by like 4 or 5 game weeks, then maybe. But
I mean, the measure for me is overall rank. So let's just go off that. Let's just go off overall rank at the end of the season. But yeah, I mean, look, I had a threemium draft, and with that, it does mean I had compromises. But I was very pleased to see Haaland bang, because I genuinely don't know if game week 1, when I was on a 2-mium draft, I don't know if it would have been Salah and Haaland or if it would have been Salah and Kane. I really can't say confidently that I wouldn't have gone with Kane and moved it, like you, Dean, over to Haaland. So in a way, you could argue I even got lucky there by having both. But I could go Kane down to Darwin Nunez very easy this game week. Like Darwin, I think starts. Liverpool fixtures are amazing.
That is true.
Gives me a little more money to eventually put in my back line if I want. But the Kane fixtures come game week 3 are really nice again. So it's not Kane for Chelsea. I'm not excited by that at all. But moving forward, I think I might be. So look, stay tuned on Friday to see if that's a move I make. But I think I'm probably more likely to stick on Kane. But Darwin's tempting me.
Yeah, what about Perisic? Obviously, Sessegnon started. And they didn't start any.
And I knew this was going to happen. We all did.
I mean, we knew there was a risk. We talked about it, yeah.
I still didn't make the transfer. And when we saw all the local journos on Friday afternoon saying Perisic will be out because he wasn't wearing a bib in training, and I saw that, and I was so busy on Friday, I was like, oh, I don't know who I really fancy. I could have gone to Trippier and should have gone to Trippier. But I was looking at the Villa guys going, do I really want Dean? Maybe not. Double Villa in my 11. They've been rubbish pre-season. So I thought, no, Perisic come game week 3 will be a starter, and he'll be someone I want in my team. So this saves me a transfer. So I'm taking on some pain. I think Sessegnon probably starts against Chelsea as well now, but I'm taking on some pain to know that when it comes good, everyone's going to want Perisic in their team.
Yeah. Do you feel that there's less pressure this time because there's the like wild card to come so early in the season?
Yeah.
Do you think that makes a difference to your thinking too? Because you're like, okay, game week 1 wasn't ideal. It's fine. Like 61 points is fine. Like it's the start to the season.
Yeah.
Everyone else is pretty much taking a guess at who's going to be good and not. You know, you don't find out right now until 3 or 4 weeks down the line and who's actually the performing. And by that point, everyone's going to be wild carding again anyway and starting again, aren't they?
Yeah, I think you're right. No doubt I could go a little bit riskier knowing I had a wild card that I'd happily use early. I think what I've learned even from game week 1 is to swerve those defences with soft centres. And I looked at Leicester and I looked at Forest, both of which I've got Ward and Williams starting.
Yeah.
And they were both on clean sheets at 60, 70 minutes?
Yeah.
But they just looked like they never looked like they were going to keep a clean sheet. And then time told after the hour mark, well, Brentford go and score 2 and Forest go and concede a couple as well. So they were
it's
both
a bad
on
sign
cleans.
it's a bad sign that Leicester will 2-0 up and threw it away. That is a bad sign.
And even Forest, I thought, be resilient, and then they're unlucky to concede a worldie from Shah, but still, you look at your Cancelos and your Reece Jameses, and you go at 60 minutes, you don't look at it and go, oh, they're gonna concede now. They just look comfortable all the time. And John, you make a good point on game week 2, like Andreas, absolutely. We haven't spoken about him in today's show, but we spoke about Mitrovic. Well, Pereira was very good, and I tweeted he's not the sort of player that I want on my second sub slot on my bench every week. Like, this is a guy that arguably is playing well enough or played well enough against Liverpool to go, there's a real assist threat there. And against Wolves, Fulham will have loads of chances.
Really surprised me. I mean, Palhinha was our best midfielder, but from an FPL point of view, not really worth having. But Pereira,
Too deep,
honestly, he put in such a shift. He was everywhere. His pressing was insane.
Yeah.
He's definitely going to get some assists. Yeah, I was thinking the same. I was like, I mean, what was the Josh Da Silva? But obviously, we're weighing up like is Pereira. Josh Da Silva scored, so he was
on the bench.
Yeah, he was on the bench, but he scored. So you're like, well, who's the better pick here? Like, you got Andreas, he will play every week, and he's gonna get some points. But Josh Da Silva gets off to a scoring start. So you're like, well, is he still a better threat for when he comes on? I'm not sure. Like, we have to weigh it up. But Andreas, deserves to be moved up to the first sub spot because he's going to play every game and he looks dangerous. And as you say, Wolves next for Fulham, like it could be a nice fixture for us.
Yeah, I think so. I think Andreas will work his way in to my 11, and I've got his backup in Reed, a third sub slot, because I was just going, I want someone who's going to play, and I should have gone to Silva for the high ceiling, but
true,
I want that starter knowing he'll pick up 2s
he'll
and 3s.
play every game, so it's fine.
I thought Harrison Reed was brilliant as well. Guys, 237 of you watching. Do hit that like button, because for some reason only a quarter of you think that we're good value. Or is it a third? Terrible maths. More a quarter, I think. So look, we're going to move on. We've still got 15 minutes of today's show. We're going to be answering your questions in 5. But first, and no, loads of you wouldn't have seen this feature before. If you like the sound of it, hit that like button. It's FPL Visa.
Yeah, so this is going to be a pretty quick fire segment, but it is fun. Basically, what we do is I fire names at Gianni. We start with defenders, move on to midfield, end in attackers. And it's FPL Visa because he has to say whether he would accept, reject, or delay a decision to get them into his team, what he would do right now if he had a conundrum. Right, so the first name I'm going to throw at you is Zinchenko. What would you do with him?
I'm going to go delay. As good as he was. No, I'm going to go accept. He was so good. What am I saying? He was so... I looked at that and went, why haven't I got an Arsenal defender? Because I don't have Ramsdale, who I was set on until we saw the 4.0 goalkeepers. But if you're not going to go there in goal, you can still go there at 5.0 at the back. So I'm going to go accept with Zinchenko. I think the chat will probably agree.
Yeah, it seems to straight away. Punter and FPL River saying Bernardo's on it too. I mean, I've already said, like, I regret not picking Zinchenko.
Yeah.
I had a hunch he would be great, and yeah, he was. Guess who says delay? Only person to disagree with you there. Right, let's want people to debate that. Let's move on to the next guy. It's Kyle Walker. What would you do with him? Accept, reject, or delay?
I'm gonna delay on Walker. There's something that just tells me that if City buy a left back, we're going to see Cancelo feature at right back occasionally, and Walker's place is at risk. It's not a risk for the next few game weeks, and you might be wildcarding, so fine. But again, it is a 6-point ceiling with Walker. You don't get the bonus points, and you don't get that attacking threat in the same way. Although his heat map was similar to Cancelo's yesterday, and taking up those inside positions. But yeah, he ain't going to get goals or assists, so it's a delay for me.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. What about Newcastle's hotshot defender, Shah? What would you do with Shah?
Oh, you can't rely on worldies every week. And I think you spend the extra on trips at 5.0, despite being 4.5. Also, when Botman comes in, who's going to drop out? Will it be Burn or Shah? Probably Burn, but we don't know that. So, yeah, too risky for me.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, a lot of rejects. I think these were for Kyle Walker, though, still coming in at the moment. But yeah, I think most people seem to be agreeing that Kyle Walker and Shah are ones to avoid for the time being. Let's move on to midfield. This is where it does get really interesting based on the performances we saw at the weekend. We're going to start with Kulusevski, who had an absolute worldie for Spurs. Everyone was thinking, should I get Son or Kane? And then a few were like, well, I could just get Kulusevski to try and cover that. And it wasn't a bad bet, was it? What would you do right now?
You can cover Kane and Son with an 8.0 mid, it turns out. He was so good, and he could have had more. I'd accept him. What we saw, he was the standout 8.0 asset. That won't continue. Of course it won't. Not every week. But yeah, great option. He won't be playing up against Musa Gineppo at left wing back every week, bear in mind. So, Gineppo was left wing back. If we had known he was going to play that role, many of us might have punted on Kulu. But yeah, his delivery's so good.
Yeah, Gineppo had a day to forget, I think. We'll definitely be avoiding him. Let's see what everybody's saying. Kulu accept. Loads of accepts. Marshall says delay. Yeah, I'd be tempted to delay for now, I have to admit. I think I'd delay for the time being. Right, what about Pascal Gross? Not a bad first day of the season for him, but can he keep that up?
He had a year 2 years ago when Brighton first got promoted like this, where he scored a lot, and he's been in and out the team. If he keeps his place, and I think he will now, I think he's an accept. He's 5.5, and when we spend 5.5, we go to Neto or 5.0 to Bailey. How much can you bank on Wolves and Villa to score? I don't know. This Brighton team look like they're going to score more than those teams. I think I have more confidence in Brighton than I do in Villa and Wolves, and therefore I think Gross is an option, and we know his set-piece delivery is awesome. He can link with guys like Dunk, who's very good in the air for that delivery. So genuinely, I actually think Gross is an option. I didn't realize he was 5.5. If he was 6, maybe not, but 5.5 he is.
Yeah, players like that I think are so hard to pick ahead of game week 1 because they just don't seem sexy enough, do they? They just don't. They're so like true. In FPL terms, you're just like, oh, it's Pascal
Boring,
Gross,
yeah.
boring. Like, it's a boring pick, and then he does it, and you're kicking yourself because you're like, I should have trusted my instincts. He's a really, really good player. Mohammed says Gross takes corners too, and Brighton score from corners with Webster and Dunk. That is a good point.
Yeah.
Mixed really on that one. Say, half accept, quite a few rejects as well, though. So it could be an option, especially if you need funds. John says accept 1 million cheaper than, I think it's a Townsend, did he? Right, let's end it with midfielders. KDB. Great pass, a lot of money though. Would you go there?
I'm gonna say delay, just because your target has to be Haaland, and if not, I think it's Foden for the value. I think Foden will become a thing.
Yeah, I think you're right too. Like, KDB's such a hard player to pick at the moment, isn't he? He's just so expensive, and he's great, but he usually gets better in the second half of the season too. So maybe just delay until the second half of the season. Mohammed says he might swap out Son for KDB. I mean, I think that's fair. If you've already got Son, then I guess you could
if
do
the
that.
value's there.
If you've already got the value in your team, then that's probably the best way to do it. Right, I'm going to move on to the forwards because most people are saying reject. Don't need long on this one. Haaland.
Yeah, very easy. Get him in your team. I don't like using the term must-have, but he's up there. Like, you'd say him, Salah, and Trent. And
do you think I should? Do you think I should do that this week? Would your advice be to get Kane out and get Haaland in?
Yeah, I think you probably do it and then give him the armband. As much as I could see Bournemouth doing the bus job, and Scott Parker teams can do that very well, I look at it and go, if City score early, and in that first half, if they do score, it will be ugly. It could be a 5-6-0.
It could be a 5-6-0, couldn't it?
But it could be part of the bus to 70, and then it's a 1-0. But I think the bookies' odds will suggest the ceiling is higher than any other fixture by a country mile.
Yeah, Colm says reject, but I think every other person is saying accept Haaland right now. Maybe he was talking about KDB. I'm not sure. But anyway, right, here's one for you. Mitrovic, one of my own. What would you do with Mitro right now?
I would accept, but there's no way I'd get him in my team. So with that in mind, I'll be delaying.
Yeah, same for me. Like, I've got 2 premiums and then I've got Cameron Archer. So like, I don't have that asset around in my team right now. Look, I love Mitro, but the thing is, like, I also want to separate the two, and this is why another reason I didn't pick many Fulham players. I mean, I got one because he's cheap, but typically I won't pick Fulham players because I like to go to our games and not have FPL conflict involved, and so I just kind of am writing off Mitro early. I want him to have a great season for like personal reasons, not FPL reasons. Anyone else that picks him, like, fair play to you. Finally, let's go to Darwin. Would you have him in for the next game week?
I think, I am so tempted. This is going to give me issues this week. Darwin versus Kane. I bought Kane for a reason, and I know I want him in game week 3, 4, 5. But for the immediate, I want Darwin, and the fixtures are still very good for Darwin. So, I would accept him. I wouldn't be ripping up your teams for him, but I'm confident he starts. Guys, there's not many of you have liked this. Come on. If you think, okay, tell me in the likes. Tell me in the likes. 101 likes. If we see a jump of 10, 20, I know you guys are with me. Is Darwin an accept? If he is, hit that like button.
For sure. It's a tricky one.
I think Dean might be. Oh, he's back. He's back in the mix. It might be me. It might be you.
So I'm finding it tricky at the moment. I'm not sure what's quite going on here, but I think I've got a lag on my end. Okay, so I've got a lag on my end. So I couldn't tell if it was me or you because it looked like you, but then I was like, not convinced about this. Gianni doesn't normally have any lag. It's normally me.
Is it me or you? It's like, what's your current relationship status? Is it me or it's you lagging behind?
Sorry, I'm letting everyone down here.
No, you're good. We're good. So there we go, Darwin. I think we got a few likes off that. I.e., you guys maybe rate him as well. There's a few saying delay too. It's fair enough.
Yeah, I think I'm not touching him. I'm not touching Darwin, but I think a lot.
Here he is. He's back. Right. Let's move on to our questions. This part of the show is all about you. Still get them in. It's time to talk. I love the music for Time to Talk. It's like the first time in the show, things are a little bit smooth and chilled, which is needed when I'm trying to keep us together, going all the bundle of energy and mistakes I keep making tonight. Aninda.
Wi-Fi's not liking me at all.
No, it's all right. I think you're good. You're good. I'll ask the questions. You answer them with time if you can.
Okay.
Gianni, how many hits is plausible in a season, and when should we look to take one? Oh, I better answer this because you addressed it to me, Aninda. Hits are fine at any week at any time, but just use them with caution. You don't have to see an immediate gain with a hit. It is worth remembering that. You can have gains later on. There's always a knock-on effect to hits. So don't evaluate your hits off 1 week. It's how that moves in the foreseeable. What I would say is I probably, in a normal season, outside of COVID times, outside of huge amounts of doubles, I normally probably average 1 hit every 3 weeks, 1 hit every 4 weeks. Like at times I've had seasons where I've only had 4 or 5 hits. At times I've had 10, 12, 15. So yeah, be cautious with them, but don't be scared to use them at the same time. Mohammed, when do we use wildcard? Dean, what are you thinking with wildcard? Because we have to use it before game week 16. It makes sense to use it way before that, because after that, we've got unlimited transfers.
I think you've got me back. I've never planned in my life, mate, so I don't know when I will use a wild card. I mean, I'll probably just use it when you are, because I'm just gonna copy you and follow your structure. No, I won't quite do that, but obviously, like I've already can tell, like he's going to be in the first 6 weeks. I would imagine, because typically at that point you are taking hits to try and make sure you're.
No worries, Dean. All good. Yeah, wildcard, look, when it works for your team. There's no hard and fast rule. PSB, Gianni, I was so underwhelmed by Mount. Had so much expectations. Put him on my FPL team. You reckon he's injured or carrying a knock? I really do. I wouldn't be surprised by that at all. Check out training photos on Thursday, Friday. Check out press conference news. You could move very easily to a Foden, for example. I don't hate that move at all, PSB. Let's get to another question if we can. Oh, we might be about to finish, but if we can answer 1 or 2 questions, I'm very happy doing that if we have time. Gianni, my team, front 3, same like your team. Did you think about having Nunez instead of Kane? Yeah, and I'm close. At the moment, I'm 60-40 in favour of keeping Kane, though. But I am close. Consideration. Asif, will Perisic start for Spurs? I don't think he will, but I do in game week 3. And look, you still get 30 minutes. You still get 30 minutes out of Perisic. I wouldn't be selling him just yet. Dean's back.
Yeah, I've just switched onto a different Wi-Fi to see if it makes any difference. There's 2. So it crossed over. It switched me onto another one. So we'll see if it's any better. I mean, we're nearly at the end of the show anyway. But
I think we've got one more question for you. Yeah. But it's a good question because it's about transfers and Man United. Like, how funny is it? The Arnautovic link we saw yesterday, Gary Neville's reaction on Sky was quite something. Rabiot as well, another guy that's not performed at his club. Like, he can't get into the worst Juventus midfield of the last 20, 30 years.
Exactly. It's not a good look, is it? Like taking Juventus cast. There are times when you would definitely take Juve cast-offs. This is not the time. Yeah. You might as well have signed Aaron Ramsey if you're going to go and sign one. There's just nothing that's pointing to this being a success. I mean, he doesn't want to be a 6. He's never wanted to be a 6. Like he doesn't want to be held back like that. If United are going to play a 6 and then play him alongside it, then okay-ish, I guess, but like it's been a long time since he was in form. Does play quite well for France sometimes. He's got quite a precise role in that team, though, which I think he accepts. The deal is about £15 million, which is obviously quite cheap, so that's okay. Wages won't be cheap. I think, is Juve's highest earning player now that Ronaldo and De Ligt have gone.
Free transfer, though, wasn't it? That's
so I mean, Di Maria might have come in on more since he came in. Yeah. So new signings might have gone in for more, but generally he's a high earner. I don't personally think he's that good anymore. I think it's a massive gamble. Real issues with like whether he fits in as a personality too. Same as Arnautovic. What are you doing? These are not the personalities that I think that Man United need right now. But they are genuinely looking at both of these players. Like that's the truth staring you in the face right now. Like Man United are trying to sign both of them.
Wow, both come with a bit of a reputation for being disruptive at times and rotten
Yeah.
eggs. Is Maddison to Newcastle still one that could work? Because for FPL, that's one of huge interest if it happens.
Yeah, it is still on the cards. They're probably going to make a third bid. Still not sure they'll get him. I don't think Madison's 100% convinced on it. And Leicester, you've got to make them budge and make them sell at the right price. What Newcastle like is that Madison can be used centrally, but he'll go to the right side, basically. Like they see him just fading out to the right and delivering down that channel. They haven't got anyone. That is the big spot for them, and to be filled the right side of attack and a centre forward. They're still going to sign players in both those positions before the month is out, Newcastle. And James Maddison, they like for that right-hand slot. So they're not thinking like, he's not like, I think they're looking at Moussa Diaby and we look at St. Maximin or Almiron. He's obviously different to these players, but in terms of where he's delivering from and where he tends to fade out to during a game, they like that Maddison can exploit that space, and they hope that he can connect with Callum Wilson or whoever's playing in the middle. So, yeah, still look out for Maddison because Newcastle's still sniffing around it.
Good stuff. Guys, we'll have more talk about transfers next Monday. Do stay tuned for our review pods every Monday at 7 p.m. live on YouTube. And of course, on Friday, we're talking preview. We're going to be looking at starting 11s from Dean, like valuable insight to some of the top teams there. Who's going to be in that City and Liverpool and Spurs 11? Will Perisic start? Will Foden start? And of course, we're going to be showing our teams, like what will we both do with our transfers. Neither of us are 100% sold, but I'm sure it will happen soon. So guys, do stay tuned and join us on Friday. Guys, loads of comments tonight. We haven't answered all your questions and you still might have them. So if you have, just whack them in the comments section of the video and we'll answer them in the week, right? So not in the chat. Ask your questions now in the comments rather than the chat. And of course, like, subscribe, all that jazz. But guys, thank you so much for watching. It's been loads of fun. Dean, thank you very much for joining. It's been awesome as always.
Mate.
And look forward to Friday's stream. Good stuff, guys. Take care. We've been FPL Insight, and this has been Chasing Green Arrows.